Hello, everybody. My name is Matthew Grace. I'm going to be giving a presentation about the ESL packet that I helped develop for families who are adopting international children. So here's the web page, the home page of it. As you can see here, this is, like I said, for families that are adopting international children, especially for parents who've never done this before. This packet's purpose is to give them skills and understanding what they need to do to have a smooth transition into teaching and helping their student whose first language is not English. There are a lot of resources in this packet, and that's what this is mainly about. So if you look here at number 1, survey results, we did a survey to try to get a handle on what it is that parents of international students needed. Here we had poll results. That there were a number of things that we learned from the poll. We split up the results into 2 different parts. The common results, which were common throughout people who had public school, private school, homeschool, and then the schooling choice dependent results, which were different depending on what sort of educational style the person had. So we'll look at the common results first. For the common results, the one that was the most apparent for everyone was the overall majority of parents used these adoption forums or an ESL teacher to find resources. Everybody was able to find one of those 2 things, and they were on almost every survey that we did. What's different, though, is that while everyone got their information from those 2 sources, everyone had very different information they got from those sources. There was almost nothing the same about the way people actually did their ESL teaching. So I think it would be good to have some sort of resources that we can give to a lot of teachers, a lot of parents, to help them kind of find the best practices for their children. The second thing we found was that half of all parents said that they wish they would have known to relax a bit and not stress out so much. A lot of parents were afraid that their children weren't learning fast enough or that they'd never learn English, but lo and behold, the child learned English. They are living in America. They're living with you as of their family. They're going to learn English. It may be slower than you think. It may be faster than you think. They're definitely going to learn it. The third thing to note here was when comparing their native English-speaking children and their foreign language-speaking children, many families had 2 things they found very different. The first thing was the difficulty in teaching idioms and slang. While these are pretty natural for English native-speaking kids, these are very confusing for foreign language-speaking children. So it's best to kind of keep those until later, if it's at all possible. The second thing we found was that pronunciation, which is not a teaching point usually for native English-speaking children, is a big teaching point for adopted international children. They're just not going to have perfect pronunciation because they grew up speaking another language. So this is something that you'll need to spend a lot of time on. The fourth point and the final of the shared results was that many of the parents mentioned the benefits of finding a counselor to meet with before with their family, but then after the child arrives, meeting together as a family with the child also. And this isn't directly related to the classroom, but having someone who knows how to help deal with culture shock or past trauma, which a lot of these children do have, that'll really help the child in general, which includes their learning. So we can go back here and look at these specific results. We're not going to look at all these because there are a lot of them, but suffice to say there are specific results for public schools. And the main thing was that finding that the schools are sometimes ill-prepared and how to deal with that. For homeschool, there were a few things also. The one I'll mention is just having the need to find new curriculum. A lot of homeschool parents have been teaching homeschool in the past, and so they know what to do with regular English classes, but they don't know how to deal with an ESL classroom. So finding the right curriculum is very important, and we'll list some resources for them to do that in this packet. So coming back to our table of contents, we can see the next section we're going to look at is the videos on teaching ESL students. This is kind of a how-to, a crash course, if you will, on being an ESL teacher. So the first thing that we look at here is that there are two different kind of things you can go through. If you're pressed for time, which you may be if you have children, lots of children, or a few children, just look at this crash course here. Total combined time, 26 minutes. There are a few different videos. They're all pretty short. You can watch them in piecemeal, take notes as you go, and then use what you learn. There are a number of them communication tips for ELLs, modeling, scaffolding, some scaffolding examples, total physical response, and then some general activities and tips for the house or room. Now, a lot of these you may not be familiar with the names of. These are just different strategies and ways that you can go about teaching an ESL student to help them understand what you're trying to teach them and to help them not feel overwhelmed in the classroom, basically. And they'll explain exactly what all these different things are that are listed here. And then down here, we've got the in-depth add-on, which if you have time to do, it is an excellent thing. It'll help you understand ESL better. There's a 19-minute TED Talk, talks about content-based instruction methods, which basically is saying that you're teaching English, but you're teaching English by not teaching English. You find some content that's very interesting for your student or your child, and you start to teach them how to research that, how to look that up. And then as they begin to get excited about that, they talk about it. They want to talk about it with someone. Who are they going to talk about it with? Well, you or the family in English. So they're going to start to have this intrinsic motivation to speak English because they want to talk about this interesting thing in their life. And then this last one is a little bit longer. This is effective strategies for teaching ESL. And this one has a lot of different ideas and some underlying theories behind why these things work. It's pretty long at 42 minutes, but it's worth the time if you have the time. Now again, if you don't have the time, don't feel bad. Just stick with this 26-minute crash course, and that will at least get you on the road going in the right direction. So once you've got some basic understanding and ideas about how ESL works, we can look at materials. So there are a large list of materials. I'm going to have this list open, and it'll be edited as I find more and as people recommend more to me. This is my email here. You can always feel free to email me and send me more resources. So the four types of resources that we have here are materials is curriculum, guidance, textbooks, then memorization of vocabulary, then practice with listening, reading, writing, speaking, and then tutoring and counseling. So I'll just go through one here, the curriculum, overall guidance, and textbooks, so you can see what it looks like, and then you'll be able to go through this on your own. So here we've got the curriculum and overall guidance and textbooks. And the first one of these, excuse me, sorry, got a bit of a stuffy nose. The first one here is that we've got two categories. The survival language category, which is basically just trying to get your students speaking. And then there's the academic focused category, which is more along the lines of getting them into school later or getting them into school now, those kind of things. So looking at the survival language, we've got two different things that I recommend. There's a book I use with most of my students called Lexicary. It's designed to get a student speaking with a native speaker, you hopefully, or someone in your family. And it's really easy to use. You need to look through the book for maybe 20 or 30 minutes at the beginning to see how to use the book. And then once you know how to use the book, it's super easy to talk through it with your student and help them understand and get into what it has is a lot of very common scenes and things that a person might go through on a daily basis. The second resource here is a number of apps that have a long-term focus, but are not necessarily academic focused. That'd be Duolingo, which is a an app that you can get for your phone or your tablet, and it's got a great free version. It's got a lot of languages, English definitely one of them, and the paid version is of course a little better, but the free version is great. The thing I like about Duolingo is it kind of makes it kind of like a game. So your student doesn't quite feel like they're having to learn as much as they feel like they're trying to beat the game. So I do recommend that one, especially for younger kids or kids that don't like to study in general. Rosetta Stone, I think we've all heard about. It's effective, but it's very expensive. If you can go through it with them and you have the time to go through it with them and the money to spend on it, it's definitely going to help. Is it going to help a lot more than Duolingo, which is free? I don't know. It depends on how you use them probably, but it can. The third one here is Rocket Languages. This is another website that has an app, and they also have their website to teach you. It's also a subscription-based thing, so you have to pay for it, but it's kind of designed more like a traditional classroom setting. There'll be like a short lecture and then some practice for you to go over. And so, yeah, these are 3 different kind of online resources that you can find. And as we go to academic focused stuff, we've got a few curriculum here that are designed by the Minnesota Literacy Council and then by the MES English website. So these are both pretty good. This Minnesota Literature Council has a nice free 27-week curriculum for beginning learners on ESL. And they have a handbook that goes with that you can purchase, but you don't have to. And the MES one is a totally free curriculum. They just run off ads on their website. And they have a curriculum for ESL and for phonics. This website in general also has a lot of really good resources for language learning. Yeah, so that's how we use the materials site here. We've got some memorization vocabulary stuff, some general practice stuff like a book that has games, YouTube videos with lots of songs and exercises, websites that have listening practice and other things. And then down here with tutoring and counseling, we've got different tutoring websites if you feel the need to have a tutor. There's lots of them online. There are also maybe some at your local university. And counseling, this is a counseling website that I use. There are many others. Yeah, so this is the idea of the packet. I hope this is going to be helpful for you as parents getting used to having international kids in your house. And I wish you the best. And if you have any questions or you need any help, feel free to send me an email at my email there, or get in contact with people on those adoption forums or an ESL teacher in your area. They'll all be happy to help. Anyways, thank you for coming today, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.